Did you know that every year, hundreds of thousands of Americans experience an event that many people often overlook, a mini-stroke, or TIA? It sounds small and transient, but don't let the name fool you. This is no small problem. Think of a TIA as a silent alarm from your body, an urgent warning that something is wrong. What's even more alarming is that 1 in 5 people who have a TIA will experience a major stroke within 90 days. Older adults are especially at risk. So why do we often ignore these important signs? Simply because the symptoms of a TIA usually last only a few minutes, sometimes just a few minutes, and may not seem to have serious consequences. But this transient is the biggest danger, causing many people to be subjective and miss the golden hour to prevent a bigger tragedy. Let's dig deeper to find out what TIA is, why it is so important to recognize it, and how you can become a hero to save yourself or your loved ones. What is TIA when the blood vessels in the brain temporarily stop supplying? TIA, Transient Ischemic Attack. Temporary power outage of the brain TIA, also known as Transient Ischemic Attack, is a medical incident in which blood flow to a part of the brain is temporarily interrupted. To make it easier to visualize, consider our brain as a dynamic, non-stop city that always needs a continuous supply of energy, that is oxygen and nutrients from the blood. This blood is transported through a complex network of roads called blood vessels. TIA occurs when one of the highways or alleys that supply blood to a specific area of the brain city is temporarily blocked. This blockage is usually caused by small blood clot. A blood clot that forms elsewhere in the body breaks off and travels to the brain, where it gets stuck in a small blood vessel. Atheroma. A piece of plaque, fat and cholesterol that builds up on the walls of blood vessels, breaks off and travels to the brain, causing a blockage. Severe vascular stenosis. The arteries leading to the brain are significantly narrowed by atherosclerosis, causing a sharp reduction in blood flow. At that time, the area of the brain responsible for specific functions, such as movement, language, vision, will be out of power for a moment due to lack of oxygen and nutrients. Distinguishing TIAs and full strokes, warning, or real damage. The key difference between a TIA and a real stroke, ischemic stroke, lies in the timing and extent of damage. In a TIA, the blockage lasts for a very short time, usually a few minutes to less than 24 hours, and most commonly within an hour. Blood flow is then quickly restored. Because the ischemia is so short, the brain cells are only shocked and do not die. Therefore, the symptoms disappear completely without leaving permanent damage to the brain. This is why it is called a transient. In a full-blown stroke, the interruption of blood lasts longer, causing brain cells to be deprived of oxygen for too long and die infarction. This leads to permanent damage and long-term neurological sequelae such as paralysis, loss of speech, cognitive impairment, or even life-threatening. You may wonder if there is no permanent damage, is a TIA worth worrying about? The answer is yes, extremely worrying. Even more alarming, it is a very clear warning sign that there is a serious underlying problem in your vascular system. TIAs indicate that there may be unstable plaques, frequent blood clots, or severely narrowed blood vessels. If these problems are not detected and addressed, the risk of a larger, irreversible stroke can occur at any time. According to statistics in the United States, TIAs are most common in older people, with about 15% of people over the age of 65 having experienced at least one. This further emphasizes the importance of recognizing and acting promptly. Why is it so important to recognize TIAs? We will clarify the vital importance of this in the next section. Why is it so important to recognize TIAs? The race against time. Recognizing a TIA is vital because it is often the earliest and most reliable warning sign of an impending major stroke. This is not an exaggeration, but a medical fact that has been proven through numerous reputable scientific studies. According to the American Stroke Association and many other medical organizations, about 1 in 3 people who have had a TIA will go on to have a real stroke. And the scariest thing is, nearly half of these strokes occur within just 2 days, 48
hours of the TIA. Can you imagine? You have a very small window of time to act, to change the situation and prevent a tragedy.
That is why you absolutely cannot ignore any symptom, no matter how fleeting, because it is your body's way of sending out an urgent and unique alarm signal. If a TIA is ignored, the consequences can be life-changing for a person and their family. A major stroke can result in severe neurological damage and permanent disability, including hemiplegia, inability to move one side of the body, severely affecting the ability to walk, care for oneself and perform daily activities, aphasia, difficulty or inability to speak, understand language, write or read. This can severely impact social interaction, work and relationships. Dysphagia, increased risk of choking on food or drink, leading to aspiration pneumonia. A dangerous complication, cognitive and memory impairment, affects the ability to think, learn, remember and solve problems. Vision problems, partial or complete blindness, double vision. Personality and psychological changes, depression, anxiety, irritability, even death. Just imagine, just because of a few minutes of neglect or subjectivity to a transient symptom, you can lose your ability to self-control, not be able to talk to your children and grandchildren, or even lose your life. However, there is extremely important good news. If TIA is detected early and medical care is given promptly, doctors can intervene to significantly reduce the risk of a
major stroke.
Measures may include using appropriate medications, such as anticoagulants, antiplatelet drugs to prevent blood clots. Major lifestyle changes: adopt a scientific diet, exercise regularly, quit smoking, control stress. Advanced medical intervention, such as carotid endarterectomy or stenting to widen narrowed blood vessels. Recognizing the signs and taking timely action is not only important, but can also be the key to preventing long-term complications, protecting your quality of life, and prolonging your life. Never underestimate the power of proper awareness and decisive action. So, what are the specific signs that we need to pay special attention to, especially in the elderly? Let's explore with me the 8 warning signs of a mini stroke right below. 8 warning signs of a mini stroke in the elderly. Become a health detective of the family. The elderly are a group of people who are especially susceptible to TIAs and strokes due to the accumulation of risk factors over time. Therefore, it is extremely necessary to equip yourself with knowledge about warning signs, not only for the elderly themselves, but also for family members, potential health detectives who can detect early and save the lives of loved ones. Let's explore the 8 most common signs of TIA, along with specific examples and subtle ways to recognize them. Sign 1: sudden weakness or numbness. The other side of the body suddenly looks different. This is one of the classic and most common symptoms of TIA, the most obvious manifestation of temporary lack of blood in the area of the brain that controls movement. You or a loved one suddenly feels sudden weakness or numbness on one side of the body. This symptom can affect face. One side of the face appears droopy, distorted, especially obvious when the patient tries to smile or talk. Practical tip: ask the patient to smile as much as possible. If one side of the face is not moving or drooping, this is a worrying sign. Arms. The arms become heavy, difficult or impossible to lift up, or cannot be held steady when extended. Practical tip: ask the patient to raise both arms in front of them, palms facing down, point up, and hold for a few
seconds.
If one arm is weak, it will gradually droop or cannot be held level with the other arm. Legs. The legs feel numb, heavy, or like ants are crawling constantly, leading to difficulty walking, staggering. Real-life example: a person is walking normally and suddenly feels one leg is heavy, cannot walk for a few minutes, and then returns to normal. Although these symptoms usually only last a few minutes to an hour and then disappear on their own, you absolutely must not ignore them. They are a bright red signal indicating that a problem has occurred in the blood supply system to the brain and a major stroke may be approaching. Sign 2. Temporary vision. Changes. The curtain, or the world, suddenly doubles. Sudden. Blurred vision, double vision, or even temporary loss of vision in one or both eyes is another serious warning sign of a TIA. A condition specifically related to TIAs is amaurosis fugax, which describes temporary vision loss in one eye. People often describe the sensation as a black curtain slowly falling before the eyes, or a shutter slowly closing. Mechanism: when the blood vessels supplying blood to the retina or the area of the brain that controls vision are temporarily affected, vision is impaired. These vision changes are not like blurred vision due to eye strain or other common age-related vision problems. They occur suddenly without warning and usually go away on their own. However, they are a clear sign that the brain or eye is not getting enough oxygen. Seek medical attention immediately, even if vision returns to normal, as this may indicate an underlying vascular problem. Sign 3. Difficulty speaking or slurring speech. Speaking like a foreigner. Difficulty speaking, slurring speech, or not being able to understand what others are saying is another serious sign of a TIA, indicating that the area of the brain that controls language is affected. The person may experience difficulty expressing thoughts, wanting to speak but not being able to find the right words, or stuttering, hesitating, or saying nonsensical words. Difficulty understanding what others are saying, hearing but not being able to process language information, not understanding simple questions or requests. This could be a sign of aphasia, a temporary loss of language ability due to lack of blood flow to the area of the brain that controls language. Practical tip: ask the person to repeat a simple, clear sentence, such as "It's a beautiful day." If they slur their words, have slurred speech, or are unable to repeat themselves correctly, this is a warning sign. Even if it is only for a short time, it should never be ignored. It is a strong warning that communication function may be permanently and severely affected if a stroke actually occurs. Sign 4. Sudden confusion. Lost in a place of familiarity. Feeling confused, disoriented, or unable to focus on simple things is another dangerous sign of a TIA. For example, a person who is normally having a conversation suddenly loses the ability to follow a conversation, not remembering where you are, not knowing who is talking to you, or not being able to perform a familiar task like turning on the TV. The key difference between confusion from a TIA and gradual memory loss, like Alzheimer's, is that confusion from a TIA is sudden, unexpected, and usually temporary. It is not a gradual decline in cognition over time, but an acute change in mental state. Real-life example. An elderly woman is sitting at a dinner table with her family. Suddenly her eyes glaze over. She asks, "Where am I?" or doesn't recognize her children for a few minutes, and then she returns to normal, as if nothing happened. Don't think it's normal for old people to be forgetful or she must be tired. If confusion comes on suddenly, consider it a sign of a mini-stroke and seek immediate medical attention. Sign 5, dizziness or loss of balance. The world suddenly spins. A feeling of lightheadedness, dizziness, spinning dizziness, or unsteadiness, sudden loss of balance, or a feeling like you're about to fall can be caused by a lack of blood flow to the part of the brain that controls balance and coordination, cerebellum or brainstem. The difference. This symptom is not the same as the common dizziness caused by dehydration, standing up suddenly, or inner ear problems. Dizziness caused by a TIA is usually very severe, comes on suddenly, and is often accompanied by other neurological symptoms such as numbness, blurred vision, difficulty speaking, or weakness. If you feel the world is spinning in an unusual way, especially when accompanied by the above signs, it is a clear warning of a TIA and requires emergency medical care. Sign 6, sudden severe headache. The thunderclap, headache you never knew before. Although not the most common symptom of a TIA can still cause an unusual, sudden and severe headache, often referred to as a thunderclap headache, which is pain that peaks immediately within seconds to a minute and is very intense. If this headache comes on suddenly without a history of similar headaches, and especially if it is accompanied by any other neurological symptoms such as weakness, numbness, difficulty speaking, vision changes, confusion, it is absolutely not to be ignored. Seek emergency medical attention immediately. Sign 7, transient loss of consciousness. Sudden fainting. Fainting or feeling sleepy, lightheaded and unaware of your surroundings can be a sign of a TIA. A brief lack of oxygen to the brain can cause a transient loss of consciousness. Many people often mistake these fainting spells for being too tired, heat stroke, or normal aging due to low blood pressure, but they can actually be a serious red flag for an impending stroke. Pay special attention if the person faints without a known cause. Any unexplained fainting spell in an older adult should be evaluated immediately by a medical professional. Sign 8, numbness and tingling. The whole area of skin is strangely numb. A sudden tingling, itching or numbness in the hands, feet or face, especially on one side of the body, is also a warning sign of a TIA. For example, a person reading a newspaper may suddenly feel a tingling sensation in one of their fingers, which then disappears. While this sensation may be similar to a normal pinched nerve, if it appears suddenly, without a clear cause and especially on one side of the body, it is most likely a TIA. This is a symptom that indicates a temporary interruption in the blood supply to the nerves that control sensation. Recognizing these signs is the first and most important step. But to truly protect our health, we need to understand what causes TIAs and how to prevent them effectively. Let's move on to the next section to learn about risk factors and important treatment and prevention strategies. Risk factors for TIA in the elderly and timely response. Silent accomplices and golden hour till 1. Risk factors for TIA in the elderly. Silent accomplices. TIAs are not a random event or fall from the sky. They are often the result of underlying diseases or unhealthy lifestyle habits that have accumulated over many years, silently damaging the vascular system. Understanding these risk factors will help us proactively prevent and better control our health. High blood pressure, hypertension. This is the number one enemy of blood vessels. Uncontrolled high blood pressure will damage and harden blood vessel walls, atherosclerosis, increasing the risk of blood clots and rupture. Diabetes, diabetes mellitus. Diabetes causes serious damage to both large and small blood vessels, reducing elasticity, affecting blood circulation and accelerating the process of atherosclerosis, atrial fibrillation, AFib. This is a common type of heart rhythm disorder in the elderly, causing blood to stagnate in the atria, creating favorable conditions for blood clots to form. People with AFib have a 5 times higher risk of stroke. Smoking, nicotine, and thousands of toxic chemicals in cigarettes directly damage blood vessel walls, increase blood pressure, increase bad cholesterol, and increase the ability to form blood. Clots, obesity and sedentary lifestyle increase the risk of diseases such as high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, all of which are risk factors for TIA and stroke. High blood fat, hypercholesterolemia, especially bad cholesterol, LDL, accumulates in the blood vessel walls, forming atherosclerotic plaques that narrow the lumen. Family history and genetic factors. If a first-degree relative has had a stroke or TIA at a young age, you are also at higher risk. Age. The risk of stroke and TIA increases significantly with age, especially after age 55. Other diseases, such as coronary artery disease, peripheral artery disease, sickle cell disease. Factor 2. Rapid response. During the golden hour, the FAST principle, to save a life. If you or a loved one has any signs of a TIA or suspected stroke, the most important thing is to act immediately and fast. It's a race against time to save every brain cell. Remember the FAST principle recommended by the American Stroke Association and many medical organizations around the world. An extremely useful tool to quickly recognize the signs of a stroke, whether it's a TIA or a full-blown stroke. A face. Ask the person to smile. Is one side of the face drooping or distorted? Arms. Ask the person to raise both arms up and hold for a few seconds. Is one arm drooping, unable to hold, or noticeably weaker? Speech. Ask the person to say a simple, clear sentence. Is speech slurred, unclear, or difficult to understand? Time. If you notice any of the above symptoms, even just one, note the exact time the symptoms started and call 911 immediately, or take the patient to the nearest hospital with a neurology or stroke specialist. Don't wait. Don't drive yourself. Don't assume the symptoms will go away on their own. Even if the symptoms disappear completely, you should still seek medical attention immediately, as it is still a TIA and a dangerous warning. Why is time so important? Because time is brain. Every minute that passes while the brain is deprived of oxygen, millions of brain cells die. Getting to the hospital as soon as possible gives doctors a window of time to perform emergency interventions, thereby minimizing brain damage. Upon arrival at the hospital, doctors will quickly perform important diagnostic tests, magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, or computed tomography, CT, scan of the brain. To examine detailed images of the brain, detect areas of ischemia and damage. Carotid Doppler ultrasound. 2. Check for atherosclerotic plaques or blood clots in the carotid artery. Electrocardiogram, ECG, and echocardiogram to check for heart problems such as atrial fibrillation, heart valve disease. Blood tests to check for risk factors such as blood sugar, blood lipids. Based on these results, the doctor will make an accurate diagnosis and a timely and appropriate treatment and prevention regimen. Early and accurate. Diagnosis is a stepping stone for us to be able to implement effective treatment and prevention measures. So, what exactly is that strategy? Let's explore in the next section, TIA treatment and prevention. A lifetime, healthy living strategy. The good news is that there are many ways to treat and prevent TIAs, thereby significantly reducing the risk of major stroke. This is a lifetime healthy living strategy that requires perseverance and coordination between the patient, family, and medical team. Follow medical instructions for taking medication, antiplatelet drugs, such as low-dose aspirin, clopidogrel. Prevent platelets from sticking together to form blood clots. Anticoagulants for people with atrial fibrillation or high risk of blood clots from the heart. Blood pressure control drugs help maintain stable blood pressure to protect blood vessels from damage and slow the process of atherosclerosis. Diabetes control drugs help maintain stable blood sugar to minimize blood vessel damage. Cholesterol-lowering drugs, statins, help reduce bad cholesterol, LDL, in the blood, slowing the process of atherosclerosis. Radical, healthy lifestyle changes. This is the foundation of all prevention and has a huge impact, sometimes even more important than medication, in maintaining long-term vascular health. Balanced and healthy diet. Focus on green vegetables, fruits, whole grains, lean proteins. Minimize salt, sugar, saturated fat, and trans fat. Exercise regularly. Aim for at least 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, of moderate intensity exercise. Helps maintain weight, lower blood pressure, improve cholesterol levels, and improve heart health. Quit smoking completely and limit alcohol, two of the most serious factors that damage the cardiovascular system. Seek help to quit smoking immediately. Maintain a healthy weight. Losing even a small amount of weight has big benefits for blood pressure, blood sugar, and blood vessel health. Manage stress. Find effective relaxation methods such as meditation, yoga, reading. Get enough sleep. Make sure you get 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. Chronic sleep deprivation can affect blood pressure and heart health. Closely control underlying diseases and regular health checkups. Always follow the treatment regimen and have regular checkups to detect new problems early. Prevention is not just about avoiding risks. It is about building a comprehensive lifestyle, proactively protecting the long-term health of the brain and heart. This is the most worthy investment for your future and quality of life. In this journey of health protection, the role of family and community is indispensable. Let's find out how they can support in the next section. How can family help the elderly? A strong arm of love and support. The role of family, relatives, and community is extremely important and indispensable in supporting the elderly to prevent and handle TIAs as well as strokes. They are the loving arms and reliable support system. Recognize symptoms early. Elderly people sometimes have difficulty recognizing or tend to be subjective with unusual signs. Therefore, relatives need to be keen observers, identifying even the smallest symptoms as soon as possible. Help them get regular checkups. Make sure they see their doctor, have their blood pressure checked regularly, have their heart checked, and get any necessary tests done as scheduled. Be a partner in making lifestyle changes. It can be difficult for an older person to change their eating habits or start exercising alone. Cook healthy meals, go for walks, and do light exercise together. Provide emotional and logistical support. Remind them to take their medications on time. Create a chart, set an alarm, or organize their medications to avoid forgetting them. Pick them up for appointments. Make sure they don't miss important doctor's appointments. Encourage and create a positive environment. Your love, patience, and genuine concern can help them feel secure. Educate and equip yourself. The more people in need, your family and community know about TIAs, the better your chances of early detection and timely action. Join a support group. Encourage your loved ones and yourself to join a support group for stroke and TIA patients. Finally, be aware, be proactive, turn awareness into action. A TIA is not a small matter. It is a serious warning from your body, a signal that a major stroke may be looming. Although the symptoms may be fleeting and disappear quickly, it is clear evidence that the blood supply to the brain is in trouble and needs to be addressed immediately. The good news is, being aware and taking action can actually save your loved ones' lives and protect you. Remember the FAST principle: arm yourself with knowledge of the 8 warning signs and proactively control your risk factors by making healthy lifestyle changes and following medical treatment. Every step you take to prevent TIA is not only a step towards a healthier, more sustainable life, but also a meaningful action to protect the future of those you love. Turn awareness into action today. Don't let small signs lead to big consequences. Be proactive for your own health and that of your loved ones. If you find this information useful, don't hesitate to share it with your family and friends to raise public awareness together. And most importantly, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on important health information, expert advice, and inspiring stories that we will continue to bring to you. Thank you for taking the time to follow and care about your health. See you in the next videos and articles where we will continue our journey to protect and improve the quality of life.